Okay. Hello. Good morning. Um, I'm very pleased to be here today um, to tell you about our journey at Convidencia and the change management that we've done to implement the next Odoo version. But who are we? We are SME dedicated to facilitate the change in other companies, and we are basically expert in change management, but as you will see, it's not always so easy even for us. So we work basically with 10 employees and a community of other freelance change managers who are not dedicated to Convidencia. It means they can work for other clients too. So we started a few years ago with the version 11 of Odoo. And we had a lot of problems with this version. I will explain it later. And in July, we decided to deploy the version 16 with a gold partner who was Idealis, and Idealis helped us a lot to implement this Odoo version. So, which problem did we have with the version 11? In fact, it was a version very challenging to navigate. It was not so intuitive. It was not so client-friendly for all the other freelance people. So for our dedicated people, it was already difficult to use. But for the freelance people, it was really a mess. So our freelance community did only occasionally use the application. So that was for him not a reflex at all. And so to bring the data in, it was very difficult. So our reports were wrong. It was, it was really not good. Then we took all the rows internally to be sure we won't have any mistake. But our problem was it was not scalable at all. And the billing department was always the adjustment factor, because the data were not good, so the billing to the client too were not good at all. Then, because we are good change manager, we get a lot of clients and more clients, so we had to scale up. And it was not possible to do it with the version 11 of Odoo. So we decided to work with the version 16 of Odoo and to deploy it with the gold partner Idealis. And we decided also to decouple the processes, because it was centralized with us, and to introduce distinct role to use it correctly. But then the most important was the HyperCare, but not the HyperCare with developer, HyperCare with people and change management. Because our experience is implementing Odoo without managing the change, people change, is guaranteed failure. Doesn't work at all. And why do we do change management? I don't know if you know that. It comes from Accenture. But when you go live with something, you always have a lack of performance. And they call it the valley of despair. You always have that. And with change management, we hope to reduce it in time and in depth. And that's what we do that. Not only to make sure that the people feels okay and feels good, but to make sure that we get back to the performance that we want to aim. Our experience as expert in change management is the sequential method doesn't work. You have a lot of risk. You maximize the risk of failure. But much more than that, what we see as experts in change management, we go in organization and they have a lot of traumas. By example, we have a client we work with 3 months, and they learn how to be agile. But we are not allowed to use the word agile because it's a trauma in this organization. You know? So be careful. As you have a change, tip 1, it's very important to understand the current landscape. Who are they functioning now? To understand the company, to understand the DNA of the company. Because it's like that, then you can predict the resistance and the resistance to change. By example, I told you we had 10 dedicated people, but we work with 50 freelancers. And you know, the freelancers, they work occasionally for us. But as you know that, and as you know, it's not a reflex for them to work with Odoo or with such a tool, you can imagine it will be a resistance. So what do I have to do so that they bring in the good data at the good moment? Tip 2, engage the people, engage your employee from the start, even if the choice of your tool, so that they understand, okay, what are our needs? And then we can see there are different tools on the market, but we think Odoo is the best because it fits with our needs. And they can already go with your readinary. So tip 3, we know that we say it always. We have to communicate, but not once. Not only at the beginning of the project. It's really an ongoing communication, and it's very important you use a lot of different media to communicate. By example, I don't know if you're aware, but if you send an email to 100 persons, only 8 persons will open it, read it, and understand it. 8 persons. So it's not a good media at all. So use a lot of other media, including meetings, one-to-one. Of course, email, but just to confirm something. But training sessions are also very important. Tip 4, personalize the training. Personalize the training. We have had that chance with Idealis. We have had a personalized training, and it was marvelous because it fit with our needs. It's very important that you understand your client to personalize the training, but you understand also the need of your people. We made tutorials for each role. Is it a consultant, freelance? Is it a project manager? Is it an account manager? What does he have to do and how? But also, we provide visio in one-to-one with each person to look after them and to see, okay, did you get everything? What is the help that you need? And then to manage the famous resistance to change, you have first to identify the problem, identify the anomalies. So you have data. You need to have data. So each month, you have to check if it's okay or not. With the data, you contact the employee or the freelance. And then you try to understand the problem. Try to understand. Don't be mad. Don't be angry and say, again you. No, try to understand the problem and explain again and again. And then control your data and repeat again. And that's the only way it works. So, in conclusion, because I would like to have your question, the best approach that we have is iterative. And as we speak over the HyperCare, it's really involve repetition, repetition, repetition. The learning is not linear, and you can have vademecum, you can have whatever you want. Who works best? The one-to-one, the explanation to the people, and it's very, very important in the HyperCare period that you have a structure, a really structure for the ongoing operation, the run structure with one-to-one tutorial with someone, owner, to give the explanation and to make sure that it goes right and that it's okay. And I told you, I'm aware of your question or reaction or whatever you want to share with me.
Such a great talk, and actually it's really important, I think, to handle this aspect of change management and to have this human approach. So you explained that it was really tailored to your need.
Yes.
And that's really important, I think, to really provide an experience tailored to the human need.
Yes.
I don't know if we have any question in the audience, maybe? No one here? I'm gonna check the pad, actually, if we have some question in there. Yips. Jumping in. We got actually a question. Someone is typing it. I'm gonna let a second. So the question will be, why do you think people are afraid of change? It's a large question, but maybe you can give us some reflection about it. And
Yes, it's indeed a very large question, but it is the question. Um, we are habits animals, and we like to be in control. And of course, if we have to manage with something that's changing, we are not experts anymore. We are junior again. And it doesn't feel really nice. It is. And that's the problem. Why? And that's because you have really to put a design around the people to make sure that they feel less miserable by that junior feeling.
yeah, okay. I think it answers the question. I don't know if we have any question maybe in the room. I think it was really clear, actually. Okay. Yes? You have a question? Oh, you just asked the question, right. So, oh, maybe you can, oops. Do you want to, I got it. So, considering your different stakeholders, employees, consultants, and clients, have you created a distinct communication plan for each of them?
Yes, of course, of course. And I told you communication is very important. So it's important that you have different groups with their different needs. When do you want to communicate? What are their needs? What do they need to know? And then you have to think about what is the best media, because you won't communicate with your employee at the same way as to your client, by example. And so it's really an exercise that you have to do. Communication is a very big part of change management. How do you communicate? When do you communicate? And when do you repeat your communication? That's also very important.
Yeah, I guess it might be really challenging actually to adapt to each group of people. And
Yes,
even inside the groups, we all have like our own personality and our own habits.
of
So
course,
some people might be
of course.
maybe
Of
refraining
course.
to the change.
And that's the problem. You sometimes think, oh, it's a lot of work. Indeed, it is. But if you don't do that, you don't get the result.
Yeah.
And so it's not performant.
Well, thank you so much. I think everything's clear. So thank you so much, Ingrid.
You're welcome.